Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
What if silence was your greatest weapon? Have you ever wondered why the loudest person in the room often feels the most insecure? What if your quiet strength could become the very thing that disarms those who try to hurt you? In today's world, we're constantly told that being loud means being strong, that speaking over others, clapping back, and proving your worth publicly is what power looks like. But I want to offer you a different truth, one that's often overlooked. True strength doesn't always raise its voice. Sometimes, the loudest victory is wrapped in silence. And let me be clear, the kind of silence I'm talking about isn't weakness. It's not giving up. It's not about letting people off the hook or pretending their actions didn't hurt. No, this kind of silence speaks louder than words ever could. It echoes deep in the hearts of those who try to break you. It sends a message they weren't expecting. You don't control me. You don't define me. I've already moved on. There's incredible dignity in choosing silence when you have every reason to retaliate. There's unshakable power in choosing peace when chaos is pounding at your door. The truth is, some people hurt you not because they hate you, but because they want a reaction. They feed off your energy. They provoke you to feel powerful. But the moment you stop reacting, the moment you take back control of your emotions, they lose everything they were trying to steal from you. And you walk away whole. You walk away with your future still intact and your integrity untouched. The enemy wants you to fight. He wants you to get pulled into drama, to argue, to defend yourself endlessly, and to waste your peace trying to prove your worth to people who never deserved your heart in the first place. But silence, real silence, is sacred. It means you've surrendered the battle to something greater than yourself. It means you've decided that your energy is too valuable to waste on temporary battles. When you embrace silence, you're not just ignoring the noise, you're rising above it. And that is where your true victory begins. Here's the truth. There's a big difference between a reaction and a response. A reaction is impulsive. It's emotional. It's the first thing your pain wants to say when you've been hurt. But a response, now that's something deeper. A response isn't just emotional. It's spiritual. It's the result of reflection, of maturity, and of choosing wisdom over impulse. And sometimes, the most powerful response is no response at all. Not because you're afraid, not because you're avoiding conflict, but because you've simply outgrown the need to entertain foolishness. You've elevated beyond the urge to prove yourself in places that no longer deserve your energy. There are people watching you right now, silently hoping for your collapse. They're waiting for you to stumble, just so they can point and say, "See, I knew they weren't that strong." But when you refuse to break character, when you stay grounded in your purpose, when you remain focused on your assignment and refuse to be pulled into drama, they're left confused. They don't know how to handle your restraint. Because grace doesn't scream, peace doesn't perform, and healing doesn't need to beg for recognition. You don't owe anyone a performance. You don't need to defend your peace to people who were never willing to hear your silence in the first place. And you surely don't have to justify your transformation to those who only ever knew the version of you that was still hurting. God has been doing a quiet work in you. In the unseen moments, in the silent seasons, when no one was clapping, He was building something powerful. And when that work comes into the light, when your growth becomes visible, your fruit will speak louder than any explanation ever could. Because some of the greatest forms of revenge, they're not loud. They're not dramatic. They don't come with announcements. They're lived out in how you rise, how you thrive, how you refuse to look back. You start to glow differently when you release bitterness. You carry yourself with a new posture when true healing begins. You rest more peacefully when you're no longer weighed down by resentment. And yes, you shine brighter, undeniably, when you choose silence over shouting, grace over grudges, and growth over gossip. So if you're thinking that your silence makes you weak, think again. It's not weakness. It's wisdom. It's discipline. It's strategy. This is what spiritual maturity looks like. It's not silence rooted in fear. It's restraint guided by revelation. It's the calm, steady stillness that says, I know who fights my battles. Because when God steps in, He doesn't just restore what was broken. He elevates it. He doesn't simply defend you in the background. He displays His favor over you in ways no one can deny. He doesn't just level the playing field. He changes the whole game in your favor. And here's the truth. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. You don't have to explain your pain, justify your choices, or defend yourself to those who were never meant to understand you in the first place. You don't need validation from people when you've already been affirmed by the one who created you. Isn't it something how the loudest voices often come from the most fragile foundations? But those who walk in quiet confidence carry a weight, a rootedness that can't be moved. The hurt may have come to break you, but your silence, your decision not to let the pain define you, is what protects your soul from becoming something it was never meant to be. So if you find yourself tempted to speak up just to be heard, just to get the last word, just to prove you didn't let them win, pause. Take a deep breath. And remember, silence is not surrender. It's sovereignty. It's owning your response. It's strength wrapped in humility. Power clothed in stillness. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Let your healing speak for you. Let your peace be the evidence. Let your silence preach the sermon your voice doesn't need to deliver. Because silence, holy, intentional silence, isn't empty. It's filled with presence, with purpose, and with God. Sometimes we carry weight that was never ours to carry. We pick up burdens that were never meant to be placed in our hands. And when people hurt us, betray us, lie about us, or walk away from us, we instinctively try to fix it. We try to right the wrong, force justice, reclaim control. But here's the deeper truth. You were never designed to carry what only God is meant to handle. The most freeing kind of revenge, the one that restores your peace and protects your future, starts the moment you let go and let God take over what you were never meant to hold. You see, when we're hurt, our first instinct is often to act. Pain has a way of pushing us toward retaliation. We start thinking thoughts like, how can I make them feel what they made me feel? How do I make sure they understand just how much they hurt me? But that kind of thinking becomes a trap. It might feel like power in a moment, but in reality, it's a prison, one that holds your spirit hostage long after those people have walked away. It keeps you emotionally tied to people God has already removed from your life. And here's something you need to remember. When God says, vengeance is mine, He's not just commanding you to back away. He's inviting you to rest. He's saying, let go. You don't have to play judge and jury. You don't have to carry this burden of justice alone. He's assuring you that He sees it all. He saw the way they acted behind closed doors. He heard the words they whispered when no one else was listening. He noticed the moments they smiled in your face while planting seeds of harm behind your back. Nothing escapes God's attention. Not your pain. Not the betrayal. Not the injustice you endured in silence. And when you trust Him with what they did, when you stop trying to fix it all yourself, He begins to work in ways you can't see, in places you can't reach. That's the difference between revenge and redemption. Revenge is all about you trying to make things right in your own strength. But redemption? Redemption is about God stepping in to make all things new. Revenge might give you a moment of satisfaction, a flash of I got even. But redemption offers something much greater, a lifetime of peace, freedom, and release. Now, let's be honest. Choosing that path isn't easy. It's hard to hold your head high when you've been wronged. It's hard to keep walking forward when you've been broken in places no one else can see. That pain is real. That struggle is real. It's a heavy thing to carry. Lying in bed at night with a heart weighed down because someone you loved didn't love you back the right way. That kind of pain runs deep. But what makes it even heavier is when we try to even score ourselves. Because the moment you try to take control of the outcome, you step into battles you were never designed to fight. That's when your peace slips away. That's when sleepless nights start to multiply. That's when bitterness begins to bury your joy one layer at a time. But something begins to shift when you say, God, I give this to you. I don't understand it, but I trust you with it. That act of surrender isn't weakness. It's strength in its most powerful form. That's when healing begins. Not when things are fixed, but when you stop trying to fix them on your own. That's when your hands release control and God's hands begin to move. Because God isn't just, He's precise. He knows exactly when to convict, when to correct, and when to restore. He doesn't just make things fair. He makes them meaningful. He doesn't just settle scores. He turns pain into purpose. The very thing that tried to break you can become the foundation He uses to build something stronger. And sometimes, God doesn't remove the storm immediately. Why? Because He's more concerned with who you're becoming in the storm than how quickly you get out of it. He's shaping you in the middle of the struggle. He allows certain people to walk away, not to punish you, but to free you. Because some people's approval was never meant to carry you into your next season. Their absence might feel like heartbreak now, but it could be heaven's way of protecting you from something far worse. What feels like rejection in the moment is often divine protection. And that's why it matters so deeply that you let God handle it. Because when you try to take matters into your own hands, emotions cloud your judgment. You'll say things you can't take back. You'll make choices that echo with regret. You'll get stuck looking backward, replaying what they did, when your focus should be on what God is getting ready to do next. But when you truly trust Him, when you lay your wounds, your questions, your need for justice all at His feet, He does more than defend you. He elevates you. He raises you above what tried to break you. Some of the greatest blessings in your life will arrive after the deepest betrayals. Some of the most powerful callings are born out of the hardest seasons. God has a way of using what hurt you to shape you. He takes the very thing that broke your heart and uses it to build your character. What others meant to harm you, He flips into something so powerful, so meaningful, that the pain won't even compare to the purpose that follows. That's who He is. He turns wounds into wisdom and trials into transformation. So don't chase revenge. Don't waste your energy looking for closure from people who were never truthful to begin with. Don't keep knocking on doors that God already closed. And don't exhaust yourself trying to convince someone of your worth when God already declared it over your life. You were crowned with value long before they failed to recognize it. Let go, not because they deserve to be free from guilt, but because you deserve to be free from the weight of it. Not because what they did didn't hurt. It did, but because that hurt doesn't get to write the ending to your story. Not because it doesn't matter, but because your healing matters more. So when the memories come rushing back, when your heart starts replaying the moment, the betrayal, the silence, pause. Breathe and whisper to yourself, God saw it. Because He did. He knows. And He's not ignoring it. He's handling it. And when He steps in, He won't just bring justice. He'll bring joy. Not temporary satisfaction, but lasting peace. Let go of the weight you were never meant to carry. Surrender what you cannot control. Because the best revenge isn't in the words you speak, it's in the life you build. It's not about making them feel what they made you feel. It's about rising so high, standing so strong, and walking so boldly in your purpose that their actions no longer have any power over you. That's what heaven celebrates. That's the kind of response that honors God and honors your future. The kind of response that doesn't just restore your dignity, it rebuilds your entire life. Yes, people may try to tear down your name, distort your image, or make you question who you are. But notice, God never asked you to fight back. He never called you to retaliate. He called you to grow. He called you to rise. He called you to move forward in your purpose. So when they leave, when they betray you, when they disappoint you, don't stop. Don't look back. Don't look back to see if they're still watching. Don't turn around to check if they finally understand. And certainly, don't go chasing closure from people who were never truly listening in the first place. Just keep building. Keep moving forward. Because every single time you choose to rise instead of retaliate, you reclaim your peace. Every time you focus on your purpose instead of nursing your pain, you grow stronger, wiser, more grounded than before. That's the quiet beauty of healing. It doesn't need an audience. You don't have to prove to anyone how far you've come. You don't need to post it, announce it, or validate it. Just keep showing up. Keep becoming, keep building, and let the results of your journey, the peace in your voice, the confidence in your step, the stability in your soul, speak louder than anything words could say. Because when people hurt you, they expect collapse. They expect the pain to consume you, to steal your light, to leave you bitter and broken. They anticipate a version of you that falls apart. But imagine the confusion they must feel when you return. Not with revenge, not with resentment, but with grace, clarity, and peace. Imagine the impact of walking back into the world with a renewed spirit, with a smile that says, I made it, and I'm not who I used to be. That kind of healing, that kind of wholeness, it confuses the enemy, because nothing frustrates darkness more than someone who refuses to stay wounded. You weren't created to remain broken. You weren't meant to live with a bitter heart. God's plan for you has always been restoration. And sometimes, rejection is his redirection. Think about that. The very people who tried to tear you down, those who thought your pain would bury you, might be the very reason you stepped into your strongest, most fulfilled self. Not because they stayed to support you, but because they walked away. Their absence made room for something far greater. God used the space they left behind to plant something sacred, something real, something lasting. So don't let what hurt you define who you are. Don't let what they did shape your future. What they said about you doesn't define your destiny. Their opinions were never the blueprint for your future. And what they took from you, it's nothing compared to what God is getting ready to pour into your life. So stop going over the pain in your mind like a broken record. Stop replaying the moment they left, the words they said, or the way they let you down. It's time to start pouring into the life you still have, the life you've been blessed with, the one that's still unfolding. Because your future was never in their hands. It never rested on their approval, their apology, or their presence. It's always been in God's hands. And he's not finished with you yet. So build something so strong, so rooted in truth and grace, that if they were to come back, they wouldn't even recognize who you've become. Not because you've changed for show, but because you've truly been transformed. Your tears taught you lessons no one else could. Your silence shaped your discipline. Your loneliness grew your character. You become the version of yourself that pain tried to bury. And now you're walking in quiet strength. Not because you never broke, but because you chose to heal. That's the power in your story. Success, peace, healing, growth. These aren't just results, they're testimonies. They're living evidence that what tried to break, you couldn't hold you down. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to announce it. You don't have to explain it. You just live it. Let your joy speak louder than your pain ever could. Let your smile shine like a light in places that once held darkness. Let your consistency, your faithfulness, your resilience echo louder than any rumor or lie. That's what it means to build a life so secure, so grounded, that it silences every voice that ever questioned you. And don't for a second think God isn't paying attention. He's watching, not just your pain, but your posture. He sees how you're responding. He sees when you show up with grace instead of anger, with integrity instead of revenge. He notices when you choose love even when bitterness feels easier. And he's not just observing, he's preparing to reward. Because when you stay faithful in the unseen moments, God will reward you in ways that can't be hidden. What you're building, it's not just about you. It's becoming a platform for his glory. It's becoming a light for someone else who's still walking through the dark. Your life is becoming a message, one that says God's strength is real, his timing is perfect, and his grace is more than enough. You don't need to get even. You need to get focused again. You need to stand up, gather your strength, and start moving forward toward the life that is still waiting for you. Don't let pain become your identity. Don't let what hurt you define who you are. Instead, let healing become your legacy. Let resilience become your reputation. Let strength be your new standard. And let the life you build be the undeniable answer to every unspoken question they ever had about your worth. Because in the end, the greatest revenge isn't in what you say, it's in who you become. Some wounds don't show on the surface. They hide under polite smiles and quiet nights. They live deep beneath layers of silence. But even the deepest pain has a voice, and it doesn't cry out for vengeance or attention. It cries out for restoration, for wholeness, for freedom. And here's the truth. Healing doesn't come by watching the people who hurt you suffer. It doesn't come from hoping they feel the same pain they gave you. Healing comes when you finally let go of what they did and give God the room to restore what was broken. That's where real strength begins. Not in revenge, but in release. Not in bitterness, but in surrender. Because you can't move forward if you're still bleeding on the inside. You can achieve success. You can take the photos. You can smile for the world. But if your heart is still tethered to pain, that pain will follow you. It will follow you into your relationships, into your choices, into the way you see yourself and others. Without even realizing it, you'll start speaking from pain instead of purpose. You'll make decisions from fear instead of faith. Slowly, that pain begins to shape your identity. It colors your perspective. It limits your vision. But healing, true healing, frees you from all of that. It gives you the space to breathe again, to live again, to trust again. It clears the fog from your spirit and opens your eyes to what God has placed in front of you. Healing doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It doesn't mean pretending the pain wasn't real. It means facing it fully, honestly, and choosing not to stay trapped in it. It means standing in front of the truth and saying, yes, I was hurt. Yes, they left. Yes, I cried. But no, I will not stay stuck there. That's not weakness. That's courage. That's faith. And that's how healing begins. And that's what separates the wounded from the healed. It's not just about what happened to you. It's about what you choose to do with it. Some people go their entire lives stuck in survival mode, constantly reacting, constantly building walls, not because they're weak, but because they never gave themselves the chance to truly heal. They've learned how to protect themselves, but not how to restore themselves. And let me be clear, that's not judgment. Some of the pain we carry is real. It runs deep. It touches places in us that no one sees and few understand. But here's the truth. If you don't let God heal what's happening on the inside, it doesn't matter how strong you look on the outside. You could be the most put-together person in the room and still feel empty inside. Your smile can fool others, but your soul will still be restless. Healing isn't about pretending the past didn't happen. It's not about forgetting the pain. It's about being free from its grip. It's about walking past the places that once broke you and no longer feeling bitterness rising in your chest. It's about remembering what happened without being held hostage by it. And that kind of healing, it comes from God. You can't manufacture it. You can't fake it. You can't force it on your timeline. Real healing requires letting Him walk with you through every layer of the pain, through the nights you couldn't sleep, through the memories that still sting, through the moments when you wanted to give up completely. He doesn't just patch up the wound and move on. No, He stays. He sits with you in the brokenness. He holds you there gently, patiently, until you're ready to stand again. That's a kind of love the world can't offer. It's not transactional. It's not conditional. It's not found in apologies or empty gestures. It's divine. It's sacred. It restores in ways that nothing else can. Sometimes healing looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like saying no. Sometimes it means setting boundaries that others won't understand. And sometimes it simply means you stop explaining your pain to people who never care to understand it in the first place. And you start rebuilding your life quietly, steadily, and in peace. Healing doesn't always arrive with fanfare. It doesn't always come with a dramatic moment or some life-altering revelation. More often, healing shows up quietly, in a way you start speaking to yourself with more kindness, in a way your soul no longer trembles in the face of the same storms that once overwhelmed you. That's growth. That's maturity. That's the unmistakable fingerprint of God gently working through your life. You don't find healing by watching those who hurt you suffer. You don't grow by keeping score. True healing begins the moment you no longer need their pain to validate your own. It begins when you understand that their actions no longer hold power over your peace. It takes root when you stop allowing bitterness to be the voice narrating your story. That's the real victory. Not that they lose, but that you rise. Not that they fall, but that you walk forward, whole, soft, and unshaken. And don't let anyone rush your healing. There's no shame in needing time. There's no finish line you're supposed to cross before someone else. Healing is not a competition. Your journey is sacred. It's yours alone. So give yourself permission to go at your own pace. Let God be the one who walks you through it, step by step. He knows how to handle the broken pieces others carelessly dropped. He knows how to rebuild you, not back to what you were, but into who you were always meant to become. He lifts the burden, soothes the sharp edges, and breathes life into the places that once only held pain. You may look in the mirror and wonder if you'll ever feel whole again. You may question whether you'll truly heal from what happened. And you're right in one sense, you won't be the same. But that's not a loss. That's a transformation. Because when God heals you, He doesn't restore you to who you were. He raises you into someone wiser, someone braver, someone filled with a deeper sense of purpose and grace. You'll love with more depth. You'll speak with more gentleness. You'll walk with greater intentionality. Healing doesn't just patch the cracks. It reshapes who you are from the inside out. So today, choose healing. Choose peace over payback. Choose growth over grudges. Choose to live as someone no longer defined by what broke you. Let your life be the proof, not of the pain, but of the power of a God who still restores, still redeems, and still writes beauty into broken stories. Let your healing be the loudest revenge, because there's nothing more powerful, nothing more disarming to the enemy than a healed soul that's still standing, still thriving. Sometimes, the greatest silence isn't empty. It's full of strength. It's the kind of silence that speaks louder than anger ever could. Time has a mysterious way of revealing what the heart couldn't see in the moment. When someone hurts you, they often walk away believing they'll never regret it. They convince themselves that they've moved on to something better. They assume your value somehow disappears the moment they do. But here's the truth. Time, oh time, always uncovers what pride tried to hide. What they once overlooked, what they dismissed or disregarded, begins to echo back to them in the quiet spaces of their own lives. That's why you don't have to chase closure. You don't have to go back and prove your worth to someone who couldn't see it in the first place. Just let time and truth do what they do best. They expose, they reveal, they restore balance without your interference. Because when someone walks away, there's always that lingering ache. A part of you can't help but wonder, did they care? Did they ever truly see the loyalty, the quiet sacrifices, the love you poured into them day after day? It's human to want answers, to wish for justice, to crave some sign that they feel what you felt. But here's the thing. God never said justice would come through your hands. He said, vengeance is mine. That means your job isn't to chase. It's to trust, to heal, to surrender the desire to be the one who makes things right. Because God is already working, even when it looks like nothing is happening. And trust me, He always brings things full circle in His own perfect time. They might look like they're doing just fine. They might post smiles, laughter, new beginnings. You might even catch yourself thinking, did they really get away with it? But storms don't always show up with thunder. Sometimes regret is the quiet kind. The one that creeps in during the night, in empty rooms, in still moments when memory cuts through all the noise. Regret is a silent storm. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It lingers in the quiet, in the questions that can't be answered, in the opportunities they'll never get back. That's why the most freeing thing you can do is let them go. Don't track their progress. Don't sit around hoping they stumble. Set your focus back on you, on your peace, your healing, your purpose. Stay focused on your healing. Stay committed to your journey. Because the most powerful revenge isn't in watching them fall. It's in watching yourself rise above it all. True victory is when you no longer need their regret to feel whole. It's when your peace no longer depends on their apology. You've grown beyond needing validation from those who couldn't recognize your worth when it mattered most. And here's a truth that will free you. When you walk in love, when you walk in grace, when you keep your heart clean before God, you don't carry the weight of regret. They do. That burden belongs to them. Because eventually, we all reap what we sow. If you've been planting seeds of kindness, patience, loyalty, and forgiveness, then your harvest will be rich with peace, strength, favor, and clarity. As for them, their harvest is between them and God. Bitterness, no matter how justified it feels, keeps you tied to the very people God was trying to separate you from. The longer you hold on to it, the longer you delay your own freedom. Don't let their decisions define your direction. Don't keep replaying conversations that only drain your spirit. Don't waste precious time decoding betrayal. You weren't meant to make sense of every wound. You were meant to grow from it and walk into something far greater. If they walked away from someone who loved purely, deeply, and sincerely, that's not your loss. That's theirs. And yes, it may take months, maybe even years, but one day they'll pause. They'll reflect. And when they do, they'll recognize the treasure they once had and carelessly let go. But by then, you'll be so far into your purpose, so full of life, that their realization won't even register. That's the quiet power of growth. Time doesn't just heal wounds. It teaches, it reveals, it clarifies. And one thing about truth, it always rises. God is not mocked. He doesn't miss a single tear you cried in silence. He remembers every lonely night, every unanswered prayer, every ache in your soul. He gathers each moment like a promise, because he's not just your healer, he's your defender. And when the truth finally surfaces, it won't be to shame them. It will be to remind you how deeply protected and endlessly loved you've always been. You don't need to raise your voice to prove your worth. You don't have to plead for anyone to recognize what you bring to the table. Just live it, be it, walk in it. Let your life speak so clearly that it silences every doubt without a single word. Keep evolving into the person you were created to be, and live so fully, so authentically, that there's no space left for regret in your heart, only room for it to find them. Because when the time comes, and it always does, they will finally see the beauty of what they once overlooked. Not because you demanded attention, but because God made it impossible to ignore. You don't have to post it. You don't have to prove it. You don't even have to explain it. God's hand on your life will do the revealing for you. So don't waste your strength waiting for apologies that may never come. Don't pause your healing journey, hoping they'll one day admit their wrongs. The truth is, most never will. But their silence doesn't mean you were wrong. And their absence doesn't take away your value. On the contrary, it's proof that you've been released. Released to grow, to heal, to receive the kind of love and purpose they were never capable of carrying with you. And in the end, those who hurt you will look back. Not because you made them, but because truth always catches up. It lingers in the quiet moments. It settles into the cracks of the soul. And when it finds them, let it find you, healed, joyful, fulfilled, and far too whole to ever look back. Let time do the talking. Let truth do the work. And let your life, radiant and resilient, be the only response you'll ever need. Thank you for spending this time with me. I wish you peace, strength, and healing on your journey. Take good care of your heart. Stay grounded in purpose. And remember to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more powerful messages just like this. Wishing you health, happiness, and a life full of meaning.